think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not.
Yeah, Dale Keown. Is he an Image guy, or has he always been like a?
No, he was a Hulk fella, right? Remember, like he worked with Peter David on the Hulk, and then he turned into the Image guy, going over to Pitt, and then he fucking just disappeared from our radar at the very least. And he's making actually something of a comeback. He's been illustrating, penciling. I don't know why I said illustrating. Issues of Avengers with Jason Aaron, I think. But he's got a very different style now. He's not the Dale Keown of old. I don't think I'm much care for it.
This is neat. Like he actually had. I'm just flipping through Dale Keown. Not that we read that. I didn't finish completely reading the book, even though there's only kind of one issue of Dale Keown at the end, which I should have just read through. But he actually has some like kind of cool perspective, like for his panels. Like I don't know. I don't
know when those issues came out.
Yeah, his art's very static. He looks like a Liefeld Image type guy, you know. But and then his backgrounds are weak and unrendered, especially after you fucking do a George Perez book and flip over to a guy that can't do a background. You're like, okay, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Like,
which brings us. Yeah. So hi everyone. So we're welcome to the Extinction Agenda. George Perez passed away. As you may know, on May 6th of 2022, poor old George Perez slipped the mortal coil, and we kind of wanted to kill two birds with one stone. So we wanted to do an episode tonight, and then we also were like, you know what? Let's talk about George Perez, because the last time we tried to talk about someone who just passed away in comics, we got their name wrong for a whole hour and had to scrap the episode. So we figured we can't fuck up George Perez's name. And so, what's a quickie, but a goodie? And we thought the Incredible Hulk, Future Imperfect, with teaming up with Peter David back in December 1992 to January 1993, 2 issues. George is penciling and inking, but not coloring. And then, of course, Peter David, who was, he was still hot on the Hulk at this time. And
Peter David came off some. I actually have a real neat little bit at the back of the book in the trade here where they talk about George Perez actually talks about his wife Carol Flynn who's a huge Peter David fan and was very keen on him from some Star Trek novels that he wrote and actually talked George Perez into working with him for this.
Yeah, they. I don't remember being. I think I saw what you were. There's also a Peter David introduction, so you kind of get both stories on how this came about. And it's neat. It's funny to think that George was on the downside because he wasn't. He kind of fucked up back in 1991. Because remember when we covered it, he only did the first 4 issues of Infinity Gauntlet, and that was August 1991, and he was working on a big crossover for DC at the exact same time, War of the Gods, and he fucked that up too. Apparently, it was just kind of like really, it was too much for him, and he was having some other issues, and he wasn't really doing any work, and really I was kind of looking around. His comeback after this is to work with Dan Jurgens on Teen Titans, and I know Teen Titans made George Perez's career, but it just kind of seems sad. Not that George really needs my pity or anything, but there was a period in our youth when George Perez was he's kind of the antithesis. Actually, this ties into Dale Keown. He's kind of the antithesis of the Image style. Like, he's not bombastic and he's not pin-up-y. He's more like a Netherlandish painting, like something out of Bruegel or something like that. Like really, really rendered, really populated.
Well, and whenever I always go to the fucking all my little isms, toilet bowl, so on and so forth. I always go to the same well but like I'm back to fucking Mobius almost.
Right.
On this, just the busy cityscape, and like even that first page when you open the rendering of the city. Come on, like I'll take the Pepsi challenge right now. Name me an artist that's hot today that can do this. There isn't one. There fucking isn't one. I won't bite it.
I don't think there is.
Maybe the Black Summer guy.
Oh, Juan Jose.
Yeah, Juan Jose Rip can let me have some fucking something similar to this, but even then it's right. It's offbeat. It wouldn't be the same exactly.
Yeah, he's more like if we were going to continue the like kind of comparing them to art history or something, that he's a little more of a surrealist. He's a little more of a like like the Scream or something, when everything's full but it's also very like fluid. This is very like, it's not naturalistic, because these figures aren't being rendered as if it were real life. Like, we're not looking at a portrait, but nonetheless, like the figures have proper anatomy, et cetera, et cetera.
You can go up into the scaffolding and see a fat guy doing some type of an acid sail up on a balcony. Like way off in the fucking distance, that really didn't need to be rendered at all.
Yeah.
Just fucking awesome. Just look anywhere on the page.
Yeah. Peter David says that he made a joke about Waldo, and so there's George Perez added Waldo in all of this. I'd have to get the magnifying glass. He says that he's there though.
I'm not playing that game.
Oh, I found him. I fucking found him.
What is he in the city?
Yeah. He's it's funny. It's underneath the Limbs Are Us sign. He's down at the bottom of the post there. Anyway, it's funny.
Oh yeah, there he is, a little too.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Yeah. So, he's got a sense of humor.
Joke.
And
funny guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to be a little difficult. I'm not being contrarian. I don't want to spit on anyone's grave.
I'm interesting.
I'm
interested. Excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you are an interesting man.
Oh, that's true too. Nice. Yeah.
The busyness. It's sometimes too, like, everything's exquisitely rendered and stuff like that, but it's very busy, and I find that it takes away a lot of the time. Like, if left to his own devices, it will take away from the action, and his action scenes are not. I don't know, it's kind of like reading Buck Rogers or something like that. There's something really old school and retro about it, and that and that's fine. But like, I just think it's not. There's something about him. Maybe what I'm trying to say. There's something about him that isn't suited to superhero comics. At the same time that obviously he is. Like he made a go of it, but there's something about it that's I've always found a little dull. Even though I've really admired him, and his skill, and what he can pull off, but it's not my favorite, but I really like him.
I'm gonna take that on the chin, because I know what you mean. So like, when there's action sequences rendered, which this is a complete action book. This is not a. I mean, okay, I'll get into the story after. I find it's a great comic book story. It's a full action story, and I also find it clever. I find there's a couple twists that make it really fun and thought provoking. And I think it's just fucking excellent for a one shot. And these have to be double sized books too.
I think so. I think they're a little prestige format, 48 pages.
But I do see what you like. His action sequences, despite there being a lot of pop, a lot of splash, and some very cool action and explosion, and everything rendered perfectly and beautifully, there isn't a lot of fluid movement in between panels that lead you to understand like how the action's happening. Like a clean fight sequence, like something like a Frank Miller. That he doesn't do that well. And that is a shortfall. I mean, and it's a pretty mild one, considering like package you get here. This has to be like one of the. This is fantastic. This is a.
It is. Yeah, I'm just being kind of nitpicky. Yeah, I'm never confused. Like I don't want anyone listening to think that like I'm saying he can't render action. Obviously he fucking can, but I think you put it well. Like the fluidity between panels isn't there, and you can't track the movement of bodies exactly. It's
right. Yeah, and that's a gift unto itself too. Like that's a rare artist that can do that kind of thing too. But you see that, I'm gonna give a shout out to Brian Hitch, who's got a real great panel to panel body movement. Like I can have Batman kick a guy in the chin, spin around, throw an elbow, jump out of a window. I'm following him. And that's if you're gonna take a shot at anything, yeah, I can see where that's missing.
That's a good comparison too, because Brian Hitch is definitely in the category of a George Perez. And I think actually in a lot of ways, because both of them don't know what to do with their fucking career. Do you know what? Listen, Brian Hitch
grave could be it. I mean, put that baby on your bookshelf. I got a hardcover of it. It's beautiful. The Batman's grave could be it for Brian Hitch. I don't know, other than the Ultimates, that there's anything that like collected that you'd want to keep in the back burner. But yeah,
because he's working on Venom right now. There's I know he's with Al Ewing, but like I couldn't think of anyone least suited to drawing Venom. Like it looks stupid.
Also, you can pump the brakes right there. I ain't buying a fucking Venom comic. I'm not buying a Venom comic. I'm not buying a Carnage comic. I'm not 12 years old. They suck shit. They've never been good. They've never been written well. It's not good. It's not good stuff. There's no fucking story to tell. Seek no farther than the movie. Like basically that's the best that you will ever get out of a Venom story because of Tom Hardy's portrayal and the special effects involved. So if you want a good Venom story, watch the movie. It's a fucking 5 out of 10, and that's as good as it gets.
Yeah. So I don't know. He's like, sorry, I know we're getting a little off topic here, but he's kind of like, it also makes me think of Mark Waid. Like what is it with these guys with like, they have a talent, they have a genuine talent, or at least a well-honed skill, but they have zero idea what to do with themselves in order to sort of, like George Perez survived and made because he's the only, like nobody can do what he can do, like except for Brian Hitch, but that comes much later, and out of it, and even then it's very different. Like George Perez is, I mean, he just brings a particular type of spectacle that, and
I spent
draftsmanship.
10 minutes on the dead superhero room. So fucking cool, so cool. Yeah. That image is not in any other Marvel comic book from the 80s on. It's just fucking cool.
I think you said it's not in, or it is in.
Not. I think it's not. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I know everybody's done their own apocalypse, but
yeah. Well, I think it's reminiscent of like this extent of the room. No, like it's reminiscent. This whole story. Okay, so the story, ladies and gentlemen, is basically it's the future. It's future imperfect, and it's revealed that it's post-apocalyptic world, and there's someone called the Maestro who's running the place, and I don't think they reveal him at first until he leaves his harem of like fucking unconscious women. It said better be good. And so,
amazing. Yeah.
So the Hulk has gone into the future. We don't know exactly why yet, but he's gone into the future to save this post-apocalyptic world from the Maestro. And I guess as we learn, the Maestro is him hundreds of years in the future, turned evil. And so it's a Hulk versus an evil version of Hulk. And when the Hulk shows up in the future, he gets in that trophy room. He finds the trophy room with all the dead heroes and stuff like that.
So yeah, and the Maestro too is not only just straight up an evil version of the Hulk. He's actually like a perverted, degenerate uncle that has turned the future into his own private Thailand.
Exactly. Yeah, he set up a kingdom, like a fuck kingdom for himself. And,
it's fucking and like how the first of all, very adult themes throughout. Also very rated R book, and also like what a mind fuck. What worse scenario could you come across if you travel into the future to defeat an evil version of yourself to find out that he's just a degenerate piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, man, that's got to be a weird lunchbag letdown. That leads right into the first of many twists, where the first twist is where they actually give you the they have their first they do some really good torturing, a very good torturing scene. That reminded me of some Jodorowsky shit right there.
We're talking about when they when he punches Fizz, right? Punches his fucking face right off.
Yeah. The torturing, and then I also like when the Hulk burrows down into when the Maestro, burrows down into the fucking hole, and then his men get like acid fucking tortured and burned alive, and like basically they use like nerve gas and acid gas agents on them, and like firing squad booby traps. It's got really grotesque. Awesome.
Yeah. It's it's good ultra violence, and it's suitable to it. And I guess it's only sold in the direct market, because I never saw this on the shelf. I used to read the Hulk comics at this time, and I knew this story was out there, and I just didn't have, I don't think I ever had access to it until it was reprinted later. Let's go back to the trophy room just for 1 second. Not the trophy room, but I mean like the memorabilia room. In my memory, it was a memory that the Maestro had killed all these individuals, but it's not. It's that they all died in a nuclear holocaust, essentially. I don't know why the Silver Surfer died in a nuclear holocaust, but let's put that aside.
Well, there was a secondary war also that
mentioned
that the little old fucking guy couldn't remember, and I guess it's all a moot point anyway, right? They're just, They're establishing that like the bombs dropped, most people died, everybody else fought for the scraps, died in a secondary war. There's nobody left.
Yeah. It has a different valence in my memory in my like reading it now though, because like in my memory it was like, okay, it's evil Hulk, but this is just like survival Hulk. Like he just happened to be like one of the people left after the world just completely went to shit. And then he made a kingdom because like there was no justice, there was no good any longer.
And also Maestro Hulk establishes later on, they establish some empathy for the character where he said like he could traverse areas that were nuked from fallout that other people couldn't, which led him to be able to sort of build up a mini civilization. He then absorbed additional radiation, lived longer, became more powerful, so on and so forth, kind of a way. And then that's one of the twists too, when he starts having the conversations with regular Hulk. I personally, maybe I'm just a perverted uncle, I don't know, but I started empathizing with him. I thought, you know what, always persecuted, hated, treated like a freak, outcast, just like a monster in the wrong place in the wrong time, and now he commands the show. And it's not perfect out there. He does the best he can. It's so weird.
No, I'm with you. But I still think that I think that there's something to that, and Peter David knows enough to make it like if you're going to hate the villain, you should also like care about the villain. I still don't think that this is actually a really good Hulk story, and I think it's because the Hulk at this moment in the character's life was a fusion of Bruce Banner, the Green Hulk, and the Gray Hulk. It's some sort of like stable version of the Incredible Hulk, and so like it's just kind of a lumbering smart guy all the time, and then what happens is in the future Hulk, it's just another version of a lumbering smart guy, who like you say, like survived all that stuff and then establishes a kingdom. The world's like basically everything's reverted to, let's say, the Middle Ages or earlier. So, it kind of makes sense that he sets up like a city state, and he's the Hulk. It's kind of, he's at the core, he's like a Jekyll and Hyde character. Like there is that element of the Hulk that is like pure id, anger, frustration, sadness. But I think those like elevated feelings, those bigger feelings, I don't think this story does a good job of grappling with those feelings. I think we're just given words, but we're never like, nothing in this situation ever erupts and shows something about like human passion or something like that. I don't think that's part of this story, and I think for that reason it's kind of not a very good Hulk story. It's a good superhero comic story featuring an intelligent Hulk, but I just don't think it's a very good Hulk story.
I know what you mean too, and they glaze over the rage, a couple times on both ends, but it's not really present really in the story, which is sort of like a cornerstone for a Hulk story, like you say. One of the other things, I don't know if you like this or not, or found it clever. I did, but the twist when after he breaks good guy Hulk's neck. And we'll get into that in a second. Cripples him and lays him up, but then obviously I think he has some like an ingrained fear of dispatching him, because if you kill yourself, and this is actually that's when the narrative starts, where like, okay, does Maestro Hulk actually have a memory of this incident, this run-in with his younger self, because of like a time travel issue. So like, is this all sort of preordained? So then and then you start having this Back to the fucking Future moment. Now, whether or not that's done cheaply by Peter David, I wanted to ask you if you felt, or whether it was like sort of a clever thing to throw you off and actually give you a thinking piece in the middle of the book.
I think it's the latter, because I never got the impression, although it has a nice tidy ending, where, might as well say, the Hulk tricks Maestro into a time machine because he's getting the shit kicked out of him. So he tricks Maestro into a time machine and brings him back to the very creation of the Hulk itself. Very tidy, because it's Rick Jones that actually got him to come from the past to the future, and then it's Rick Jones that's being saved by the Hulk, and so it has a really nice circularity to it, and I thought that was clever, and they set it up really well, because they say even the Hulk would have died at the center of a nuclear explosion, and he just never, throughout all the wars, happened to have been at the center of one of those explosions, so that at the end it's set up that he finally is at the center of one of those explosions, and it's the very explosion that created him in the first place. Clap, clap, clap. Right. Yeah, but the time travel stuff just felt, that's more like Peter David Star Trek habits, I feel. Because I don't feel that the Maestro, he wouldn't have taken all the actions that he took had he had foreknowledge, right? Like, he would have been ready. He seems very surprised. He's on his back heel some of the times, even though he's like, I'm actually smarter than you, and I knew you were digging a hole, and you're just like, this is stupid. What the people don't act like this.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and he had too many missteps, like, where it's like, why would he even set himself up for that?
And he seems genuinely curious at the beginning, when he goes down into the tunnels. That said, getting back to what you had said, like, when he finally decides, like, is that our only problem? Like, they're underground, so he just starts fucking digging. Should have consulted me on this months ago, and you've been busy, which implies he's just been like fucking for months on end. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, he's got his babes, his Conan style babes that wear like whatever, like seashell bras and stuff like this.
They're all dressed like Red Sonja.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the best is when the broken neck Hulk, you alluded to this, he's like laid up in a bed, and he gets like not like a consensual like molesting from one of his helpers.
Yeah, who looks kind of like his dead wife, and it's a weird sort of. I did find that's the part that I found maybe the most interesting part of the story because he doesn't. It's him, right? So it's future version of him, and he knows, like, I know what that guy needs. He needs a hand job, and then he'll come around.
He kind of did too.
Yeah. And it's just like, I'll just give him like this. Like, I know what works for me. I'll just get like a Betty lookalike, and I'll just like marital rape her every night. And that, that'll do it for me. And so that's, and it's funny, like that's the technique. It's kind of gross, but that's a weird way to try to win the hero over. And it's all off panel. It's all implied. And talking about how he would feel guilt from the pleasure, and that would be the torture. That's an interesting degree of psychological affinity that I think this story could have spent more time with, and gotten more of what. It's something a little deeper, like with respect to the Hulk. Again, no, maybe that's too much to expect.
Also, I tend to argue that we spent quite enough time on that.
Yeah, maybe I'm just a perverted uncle, right? Oh yeah, more on that, please. Illustrate that.
The 4 panels. Stop.
Yeah.
the shitty grin on the maestro.
Yeah, I'm killing him with kindness.
He's got a couple gingers riding on his back, just hanging out in the old den of whatever. Yeah. I like how there's like an orgy going on in the background too.
Well, yeah, and yeah,
like the Hulk he sets himself up for like he's got like a nice environment for himself, like this is a good place for everyone,
and like, ladies, our guest needs more relaxation. Go and be of assistance. And he just like sends all these like slave girls, and like, because I guess he knows, like, Bruce must have, like old Hulk or young Hulk, he must have had endless rounds of sexual activity with all these women, and you're just like, and then you're just kind of left with that thought, and then they move on. It's kind of weird.
The hilarious part that they're all happy.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And then flip to the very next page, and there's like a carcass that goes flying out of the high tower.
Yeah, right into like a pit of dead. It's very Holocaust-esque.
Yeah. And are these like dead women that he's accidentally broken? Are these just like slaves that he's gotten annoyed with? So I guess there's part of your like Hulk rage or Jekyll and Hyde thing, right? But
you're right about that, because he is you do get the sense that like, he'll just break something, and which, as a matter of fact, when he skipping ahead to when they're fighting, and he like holds that woman and threatens to tear her apart.
Oh yeah, and just like swings her by the leg.
Yeah, like she's dead. Like once the moment the first swing happens, that's a compound fracture for sure.
That arm's gone.
Yeah.
And it's likely there are parts of your bones that are like torn out of the socket around your neck and stuff like that.
Yeah, so he might as well have just like fully committed to calling the bluff, right? Because like he didn't save her. Like, let's assume she survives. Oh my god, that's not gonna last long.
Survives what? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Brain damaged.
Yeah.
They don't actually show that, but I mean, like, they may as well have just splattered her.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was just like, well, that was dumb. Like, that was like, and it was meant to be like sort of a moment of confrontation where like the Hulk reveals his humanity, but just all he did was reveal that he's kind of stupid, which, I guess maybe the Hulk is kind of stupid.
Yeah, I like that old pervy uncle version of the Hulk. It's like fully outclassed him the whole way.
Yeah, there's that idea that you'd always like, if we talk about this, like if we fought our younger selves, I'd beat younger me, and I think it's got to be the same here.
It's got to be you'd encounter the maestro.
Yeah.
Be impossible to beat him.
Yeah. Although, here's a stupid.
Goes places you don't go.
Yeah. I didn't think about like what makes them the opposite. So the Maestro, obviously, he's got more of a thing face because he's all extra irradiated, but he has a hair crown, right? Whereas the Hulk has the Maestro has no hair where the Hulk has hair, and vice versa. Like that's one of the, and I'm sorry, I'm just noticing that now, and I know that's stupid to say out loud, but I'm just like, that's an interesting way of setting them apart from each other. Like that's a nice, basic, simple design element. What brought me to thinking about it was how much I hate the Hulk's hair in this era.
the funny like mop top kind of hair.
Like what the fuck? And George Perez does not sell that as cool. Like this Hulk looks stupid, like really, really stupid. Like,
oh yeah, I thought of it on that first splash page, the Good Day Gentleman, the iconic image, and it's actually like that's actually like an iconic image of the Hulk. It's a classic. It's almost like a poster of him. It's like one of his cooler, like, I don't know why I think it's cool. I think it's a really cool picture, but he looks so dumb.
Yeah. Something about the neck. There's something about the way he draws the Hulk's neck as it leads up into his face. I don't know what else it would lead up to. And then the hair. Something about, like, it just strikes me as awkward. But and it's really hard. Yeah, like Dale Keown always pulled it off really well, and I think actually designed it like this version of the Hulk. But it doesn't translate to like. But I don't know what other fucking hair I want the Hulk to have. I guess I just don't want him to be shaved at the back of his head. Like, the fuck? Looks like an idiot. Anyway,
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's a good complaint also.
Yeah.
And then I like when he tours him around the kingdom on like fucking giant mutated demon panthers, and then scores himself another willing participant in a horrible Maestro sex slavery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when he checks her out, no open sores, firm, good teeth.
Oh, good God. And you're just like, what? They just sell this guy's the worst.
Yeah.
Maestro. You're trying to, like, and I mean, like, I don't know. It's hard because, like, I don't know where I came up with the empathy for the guy. But he's just like you say, man, he's in survival mode. This is the shit that was owed to him, you know?
Well, you get it. You're like, the part of the sympathy for him, to an extent, like, let's be careful about the word sympathy, I guess. But like, just you're like, okay, I see where this guy's coming from. Bruce Hulk is like, these people are starving. Why don't they live in the city? And his response is, there's something one, rational about it, and two, he's got like this aesthetic that he's sort of decided upon. Our resources are not infinite. Besides, by and large, they're fairly hideous. Who wants them hanging around? It's depressing. So he's like, he's pure hedonist. Like he's all in it for the self pleasure, and to the extent that other people survive around him, it's only so that way he can have enough resources. Like he needs people to be doing stuff for him. He needs an economy around him in order to be a king. So he's like, okay, I'll accept these individuals around me. One, if they aren't disgusting looking. Two, if they're working for me. And three, if they bring me pleasure. And I guess maybe this might be the good Hulk story then, because it's like, but now, because it's not about rage. It's about the Hulk being suddenly about self pleasure. Like he's like, what if it isn't the fact that the Hulk isn't mad all the time? What if it's just he's lusty all the time, and we never noticed, and he was just like, his rage was born of human lust for Betty, and yeah, it kind of works under those conditions, I guess. But yeah, it's more Freudian. It's kind of a more Freudian idea of exploring the Hulk, I guess. But
also, I don't know if you noticed, but the art kind of fell off a little bit in section 2. It
changed. I did notice that. But
it almost looks like a coloring difference.
Yes. Yeah.
That sort of like ruined the reprint.
I think so. That's what it feels like to me. The colorist didn't change, and the technique ostensibly didn't change. But yeah, it is different, and it's murkier, like it's darker somehow. Like, so I think it's just the reproduction value.
Yeah, it's like the lines aren't as crisp all of a sudden, so that certain things don't look as nice as they did. But yeah, like you say, it could have been like the reprint.
Yeah, that's the problem, because like it wasn't. in some ways it was an instant classic because, again, back in 1992, 1993, like I knew about this book right away, having never read it, because I probably have talked about it in Wizard magazine, right? I can see Wizard being all over this shit.
Oh man, like in this, and like you said too, this is a very it's a very well thought out plot. And it's a great open and closed action story, and then it's got full fluid art. Like it's a perfect medley. It's a graphic novel before its time.
And it gives you a great Hulk villain. There's not a lot of great Hulk villains. You've got the Abomination, which is basically already your evil Hulk. You got the Leader, and the Thunderbolt Ross, I guess. I could name like the UFOs and stuff like that, but that's just because they show up all the time. They're not like classic, iconic Hulk villains. This is a good one. In your sort of classic evil version of yourself, superhero villain characters, one of those rare instances where it kind of works perfectly, and it works especially well because he dies at the end, right? And he's gone, but of course he's come back. Like I think there's a Maestro comic book now or something like that, or a mini series. They can't leave well enough alone. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
I'm actually, having read this, I'm a little curious if he's just going to be like on the quest to recreate his fuck palace. I bet no one in Marvel nowadays has the balls. I fucking dare you, Marvel, to like properly resurrect this character and explore what he's into. Right? You can't do that.
Give Grant Morrison the Maestro.
Yeah. Bring back Grant. I don't know who would do a good job of this. Fuck, who's I think this is more of a Mark Millar, more of a Garth Ennis,
Frank Miller can bring back the Maestro.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah. He made Batman drop trow and up on a rooftop. So, I mean,
it's better with the mask on.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. I'm sure he could handle the Maestro the way he thinks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Probably in Thailand right now.
Fucking Frank.
I'm giving Thailand a rough ride today. Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry,
well,
everyone.
It has a reputation. Yeah, sorry, people from Thailand.
No, everybody knows what goes on there. Come on. That's enough.
Yeah, it's not a secret. Jeez.
No. It's where you go when you turn 60 and turn into the Maestro.
Yeah. So, I couldn't think. I was really happy that we kind of landed on this to talk about George Perez. It's sad that he's passed. And reading this, you kind of get a sense of that. I'm never gonna fucking crack open Crisis on Infinite Earths ever again in my life. I don't need that in my life, even though there's some really stupendous images in there. In Infinity Gauntlet, I'll go back to that, and it's but I'm always gonna feel it's a shame he never finished it. Like this is, and I'm sure. I guess we could go back to Teen Titans, right? But Marv Wolfman fucks the bed on that. That sucks. So this is a nice little package, if you just want to pour one out for the fella.
Yeah, this is it. This got me in the feels. I wanted to go back and see something where you could see George's art just on full bore display, and then to have it just complemented with some Peter David sauce and the art, the color palette is fucking beautiful. The art's fantastic, and it's just on par. And then they've got, this book has some little forewords, some little commentary from both writer and artist, and then you kind of like you say, it's just a nice little dip in and out to remember George Perez.
Yeah. And you get to think about how many people the Hulk needed to just be pacified, and all those other sort of sexual questions that superhero fans like to think about from time to time.
Right up there always do, yeah.
Yeah. Does the Thing have a rocky dick? I don't know. I don't know. And sadly, Peter David and George Perez didn't tackle that particular.
Does the Hulk get agonizing, guilt-ridden Handies, absolutely.
Yeah. Now we know.
Experienced at full blast.
Yeah.
Stop.
Now all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.